More changes found in the data mine. So let's take a look on the flight model, tank models, and everything that was changed. Hello guys, once again it's Matt. Thank you all the members and patrons. Make sure to subscribe. And of course, Oshida just posted a new data mine post. I will leave the links in the description. Thank you, Oshida, for doing this. And of course, there were some changes to flight models, some changes to other things. So let's talk about every single one of them. The first one is that the Fokker, the new Dutch aircraft, is actually getting kind of a overall nerf. It basically got a compressing situation, decreased in speed, which means that it will start compressing in less speed than before, around 100 kilometers per hour in both, in all axes, basically, in roll, in pitch, and on yaw. It's basically from like 300 and something to 200 and something in all the axes. Another thing is that overall the yaw, the pitch and everything, the roll will all feel a little bit more sluggish, okay? With the elevator basically being reduced in the amount of deflection angle that it can actually pull, meaning in both negative and positive pulls, it will be slightly decreased in overall efficiency, okay? So overall, a nerf to the Fokker. I already talked about this because they did a post about this change a while back, you know, at the start of the week or last week, I don't remember. But they did add the ability of some raiders to actually shoot with 4 targets. So, for example, the Tornado with its Fox Hunter Stage 3G, the Blue Vixen Raider, the Zook M, the PS05A Natalis RDY, stuff that we already knew there was changed before because they actually did a post about it, but anyway, it is in the data mines, are able to actually fire on 4 targets now. So basically it has, I mean, you can always fire on 4 targets, but now it can actually update the targets you know, via the data link up to 4 targets in all of these aircraft. Basically, the Tornado F3, right, the Sea Harrier, the MiG-23 SMT, the Gripen, and of course the Mirage 2000-5F, right? So all of those aircraft can now fire and maintain a data link connection for up to 4 targets instead of the 2. The Namer, the RCW 30 cannon, which is this one, actually got kind of a, you know, kind of a buff, to be honest. It had some armor changes and minor things like that, but the major thing is that destroying the 30mm ammunition out of it doesn't destroy the gun, the tank anymore, which makes sense, of course, it's on the outside, right? So now it will be safe from that. And the order of consumption of the gun over here got changed as well because it has many like little things over here. So it will obviously consume this one before, and this one, and this one, and then the last one, right? So yeah, pretty cool, right? It's funny because it has 2 feed lines over here, right? I think it's 2 feed lines, right? I don't know, but yeah, probably. Other changes come to the raiders of some of the F-15s. Now they have a new name, of course, and now they are called the PSP. Basically, this is a new processor that is fully programmable for new types of weapons and stuff. So it got added to the BAS Mashupar, and of course the F-15A and the older F-15J as well. There was already something in other, you know, it's fixed and like posts and stuff, but still it is good to talk about it. Then the Weasel 1A4 over here actually got a turret drive and turret ammunition not being able to be, you know, overpressured anymore, so that's good. Survivability of it should be tiny little bit better. The MiG-23 and 27s, this is where I think this is the most important thing on flight models. They again changed the flight model of this thing. We're gonna like be able to fully like feel it because I mean it's just minor changes, but overall there are 2 main changes to these aircraft. Okay, all the MiG-23s and 27s. Basically now the first change is that it will now restrict the wing sweep up to 20% until Mach 0.4. So now the auto wing will maintain a different sweep a little bit with the tables and stuff. to actually be able to turn a little bit better. That was the thing that they actually talked about in the It's Fixed. But there is another thing that they don't talk about it on the It's Fixed, but they nerfed the aircraft again. So they nerfed at one point and then they buffed it, and now they're nerfing it again. It's not by much, but still. Basically, in every wing sweep, 0, 50, 100%, doesn't matter the amount of wing sweep that you have, there will be 2 major changes to it. They're not like that big, but it's a major change in the sense that it changes it up the aircraft a little bit, right? So the first one is that with flaps, with no flaps in any wing sweep, it basically, when it's pulling, when it's doing turns and stuff, it will have a higher drag by the angle of attack, right? So the more angle of attack you have, you know, the higher the drag it is, but they increased the overall drag from what it was already, right? So with that, it basically decreases the overall turn rate and basically the energy retention as well, right? So it has basically a less rapid increase in the coefficient of lift, if I'm not mistaken, until the stall angle, and the coefficient of stall being like the coefficient of drag, sorry, being increased. So basically what this means is that the aircraft will have more drag with the AOA, and the tables will mean that the more you get to the stall speeds, it will mean that the aircraft will have less lift than before and more drag. So it will increase the more you get to the the closer you get to the stall speed, it will increase the drag a lot more not a lot, but it will be more rapidly, and the lift will decrease more rapidly, technically, right? So it means that it will have less drag, more drag and less lift, basically, when it's stalling. So overall, although the new wing sweep automatically will be kind of a, you know, good thing, overall it's a reduction in the sustained turn rate and a decrease in energy retention at any wing sweep and flap position. So it's basically a nerf to all the MiG-23s and 27s, okay? There was some changes to the fly model of some aircraft and basically the weights and everything. For example, the Mirage 4A and the Israeli 4A as well. Obviously, the fuel tank one capacity was decreased from 300 kilograms to 0, decreasing the total fuel mass from basically about 300 kilograms, right? Means that it will be lighter, but it will take less fuel. As well with the SAR, which is the weird Super Mystère that has an A4 engine, basically got an empty mass increased from, I mean, you're not gonna say every single number, but around 130 kilograms, which is pretty hefty as well. And the fuel mass was basically redistributed across the fuel tanks, decreasing the total fuel mass from 2,031 kilograms to 1,830. So it will take less fuels and be literally more heavy, which is kind of weird. But at least the Super Mystère, the normal ones, you know, both the Israeli and the French ones, these ones, the Sambat, and of course the original French one, they got kind of different things. So it has basically slightly more. Let me actually test this aircraft flying around a little bit while we talk. So the changes were basically that it has a slightly more bigger compression of the aircraft, more overall drag while the canopy is open, which is alright. I mean, don't care too much. Empty mass was increased by around 150 kilograms. The fuel mass was redistributed across the fuel tanks with the decreased total fuel mass of around the same as the SAR, right? So basically to 1,830. And that's where the actual buff comes up. It's kind of a nerf and a buff at the same time. An overall increase in the thrust of around 100 kilogram forces to 1,000 kilogram forces, depending on the altitude and speed that you are. I gotta be honest, if you are kind of high and kind of fast, depending on the situation, it is quite the buff. You get like 10 kilonewtons of power on this engine. So at the same time that it got its weight kind of increased and the fuel, it's less fuel now and stuff, So I mean, it depends very much on how you use them and stuff, and the options of using fuel, and you know how it is, right? With the amount of weight and stuff that you want to use depending on the time and stuff. But at the end of the day, it is kind of a massive buff, like on the sense of power, right? Depending on the speed. So at the same time, it is a little bit heavy, and it will compress a little bit more, but it has more power as well. So it's a buff here and there, and it's a nerf here and there as well. And the last two things, the first one is that the SPARROW actually got an increase in its range. Of course, the energy of the missile itself, it's basically the same, but now technically it's not here in the actual like stat card, but it can get to 70 kilometers now. Will it get it? Probably not. I mean, 70 kilometers is a very long range, but still, it is kind of above to the SPARROW, kind of. But the energy, it's basically the same. And the last thing is that in the 120S, they basically changed it. The damaging or destroying of the turret can actually cause a fire now, which is the turret ring, if I'm not mistaken. And another thing is that they basically decreased the chances of fire when hitting an engine or a fuel tank. So kind of a nerf here and there, kind of a buff here and there as well. And basically this is it, guys. Nothing too crazy as you see, but the flight models of the MiG-23 I think are quite big. The Fokker one, you know, as well. Some other minor things, so the Super Mystère and stuff. So yeah, very, very cool to see that. Oshida, thank you for doing that. I will leave the link for the post in the description, and I see you guys on the next one. So bye guys, subscribe, and see ya.